Hello. So I closed out and I went, or I had my Instagram or something, and I saw without a crystal ball saying that she's about to drop a bomb about Blake Lively in a new video, smoking gun evidence that has not seen before, blah, blah, blah. She already posted the video. Sorry, I was like looking at the camera. I am going to just do this not live because I want to react, but I also don't want to just like take away from her viewership by just seeing all of it. So I'm going to cut out the pieces that, are just her video in excessiveness so you can watch it on her channel.
And I truly thought when his case was dismissed that they were going to somehow appeal it or do something because of all of the evidence that they had.
First of all, it just kind of hit me because there's more and more talk around her being racist, Blake Lively. And it just hit me with seeing Baldoni's pictures that he looks not a white European American. And which is all kind of funny to say because, immigrants from Europe, but beside the point. I wonder if that's like the problem here as well, or adds a coloring to her problem with him, or a sense of he's less than her. The other second thing is that she is beautiful. Like her eyes are beautiful. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because she's a beautiful, physically beautiful person. I know people talk about her having different surgeries and all that stuff. Cool, whatever. But she is beautiful. There's something there to start. Like her eye color is her eye color and her eyes and stuff. So, and her expressions. So it's really sad. It's really sad. It's such a waste of beauty. That's my opinion too. I know some people don't like how she looks, but my opinion is that she is beautiful. But this makes her look so ugly and so unappealing and so unattractive. It's really sad. Anyways, continuing.
I remember when I first got the tip and I was reading through what the allegations were. Now that you understand what she's done to us as content creators, there's nothing she won't do to try to flip a narrative so that it makes the other person look bad. This is how they were framing what happened on the set. This has nothing to do with just Blake, but with the way that Justin treated everyone on the film. Blake and Colleen worked endlessly on the project, and this is Colleen's story about her mother. The film is about abuse, and so for a man to try to control the narrative about the abuse of women is not acceptable. Do you remember how they were trying to claim that Blake's point of view wasn't taken into account? So they tried to frame it like because he was the director and had a director's vision, they were trying to flip it and say that a man controlling the narrative is wrong because he's the director. No man should be in charge of a story about women unless women are involved in the ones directing it.
And this lines up with Blake's constant wrong script around women don't get these certain parts or those certain parts, etc., 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 are treated this way or that way, and we don't have enough stories about complex women. It goes straight with that. I believe her. I believe Katie. I don't think she's saying anything that's like earth-shattering.
They say it's the same as the government when they would try to tell women what to do with their bodies.
But girl, you did a horrible job. Now, did she do a horrible job on the red carpet answering these interviews? A, because that's her, or B, as a continuous setup for Justin? With this information, it makes you wonder.
So Blake was telling people, allegedly, that Justin trying to be a director on a film that he owned,
that Colleen gave him so excitedly. Remember that email? That's why they included that email.
And that was his IP, and that he directed and purchased and was making the film and finance. She told people that the fact that he was doing that was no different than the government taking away the right to choose if you have an abortion or not. That's like such a strong leap, and it has nothing to do with sexual harassment. So for a man to direct a film involving intimate scenes with a woman without allowing the woman to have a voice is unacceptable. So
Ew. No, it's not. This is what I'm talking about. And this is something that I ran into my 48, on a very much lower scale. But this idea that some women have, like, no, it's not. Men are good people. Not all men are bad. And no, it's not. Oh.
Blake was planting seeds with people all over the media to make it sound like because a man is directing a film with a woman.
It's not about being okay or not okay. It's not about that. She doesn't care about ethics and morals. She uses them. If this is true, this is alleged. Again, it's alleged from me as far as I'm just listening to what this other person is saying that her sources are saying. But if it's true, and I believe that the sentiment Blake has, regardless of this is true or not, is that victimhood. But I think it's planned victimhood. I think it's marketing. I don't think it's genuine. I don't think it comes from a genuine, truthful place in her heart. I don't think that, but that's my belief. That's my opinion. That's the same thing I'll say is that, sorry, this is bothering me, is that if this is true, it's not about ethics and morals for her. She's using them. That's all. That's all for her benefit.
I guess it just depends on what man is involved, but the fact that
it doesn't depend. It doesn't depend. I don't know the relationship and the whole thing around her and Ryan, but it doesn't depend. I think it's just her marketing. I think she really this is her marketing. It's only when it applies to her.
It's like because he's a man, he can't do that. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's because he did something wrong. It's because he's a man. That has nothing to do with sexual harassment.
Or like I said, because he's not your white old guy like Woody Allen.
Without allowing the woman's voice in or her perspective in, which is odd because, again, Colleen was involved in all steps. Christy Hall is the screenwriter.
Before Blake got even involved, I think Colleen, there were like videos of her. I also hate how some people say Colleen, or whatever, Colleen. I think Blake got involved. She was involved and she was in the process. And yeah, she brings up Christy Hall as a screenwriter. Yeah.
So really it had nothing to do with him doing anything wrong to her. It was just the fact that he was a man.
And whatever she had against him.
And alone. When she was running around in August telling everybody about what happened, she was implying that it had nothing to do with harassment, but instead had to do with like a woman is supposed to be in charge of a woman's movie, not a man. Setting the stage that she should be the one to get the film for the next sequel. He took control and insisted that they do things his way. This angered everyone collectively. He also had issues with Colleen. Imagine a director of a film taking control and doing things his way.
And I was just talking about that. The sequel part, yes. So he even conceded to that because what was his response when they asked him on the red carpet, pink carpet, whatever carpet color it was? They asked him, what about the sequel or whatever? And he said, I don't know. I need a break, but I think Blake's ready to direct. I'll tell you that much. So he said that. He even conceded that to her. And maybe he regretted it afterwards and said, no, you know what? No, like I own these rights and et cetera, et cetera. But, in the public eye, he got pushed to so like, bad. And remember that Men Enough podcast episode with what's his name from A Simple Favor director? He already had, I feel like he's kind of similar to me as far as like there's this guilt of being in charge. I think for him, because he's a man and he's been told like men have been oppressing women for so long, so he doesn't want to do that. For me as a woman, I feel like it comes from this like men having a hard time with me kind of saying like how it should be. And so I think it comes from a similar space. It is really hard to be a director from that perspective. Something that you kind of assume that directors just have the power and they're comfortable with the power, and also that people are comfortable with them having that power and understanding of the hierarchy. But there's people that challenge, like I said, Blake Lively should have just done her own project and left this one alone. This was not hers, and she has plenty of other ones that she could be doing. But yeah, I think it is something that's difficult. It is very difficult, and to have someone challenge that and also make you feel bad because of your gender director, regardless from for him being a man telling a woman's story, for me being a woman, period, directing and leading other men, something that I valued about my ex and my friend, even though I feel like both of them sort of were uneasy or uncomfortable or kind of questioned my decisions and my point of view and stuff like that, but they were supportive at the end of the day. Even we've done so many projects together, and I will admit that I need polishing. And I feel like with Justin, it seemed like he also was a director and a man, but he also needed his own polishing as a director, especially for a bigger budget movie, or maybe not a bigger budget, but like a more theatrical, bigger star, whatever movie. Although it might have been not his fault if she was causing delays, schedule issues, and all that stuff. But yeah, I think I don't know, I relate to that, and this takes me back to why I started talking about this in the first place, from a personal standpoint as a amateur filmmaker and director, and how these things feel that no one kind of talks about, and people assume very different realities. So yeah, I would say no, it is his movie. It should be the director that has the vision, and everyone carry that vision. He can consult with Colleen, with other people, but it's ultimately his movie. He should not be made to feel bad for his gender, for his vision, for anything. If he fails, if the audience doesn't like it, if the audience doesn't resound with it, whatever, then, whatever. But no, misandry, misogyny is wrong. Both are wrong.
His acting was phenomenal, and there is no denying this. No one will ever be able to take this away from him. The issues that arose from his directing a film so serious and so important about domestic abuse without allowing the woman's perspective is the problem.
Also, let's, you know me, I love to play devil's advocate. I love to have a hypothesis type of scenario, right? Hypothetically, if that is true, and he was struggling, and they felt like, yeah, he's not, first of all, they're not the all-sayer of women. I'm sorry, but Colleen herself had many, many, many issues with people that were survivors, and how she presented things, how she wrote things, how she handled the promotion of her book. She had many people, women survivors, not be happy with her. So let's not pretend like they are, the voice of all women. A. B. Let's say that he had these issues. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm not saying that he did. Let's say that he did. Still does not warrant them saying this. Would they say that about Woody Allen? No. Without a crystal ball's point, would they say that about Ryan Reynolds? No. She literally said that he would have made a better, I thought I read that somewhere, that he would have made a better director for this movie or something. Maybe she didn't. Maybe it was just, I don't know. Where did I read that? Anyways, it was in an article somewhere. Laughable and insulting, because he is a terrible, terrible, terrible person as far as Deadpool. Like, that is not the person to direct a DV movie respecting women, because he doesn't respect anyone. But I don't feel like Ryan Reynolds, as Deadpool, at least respects women, period. Either way, they do not have the right to decide. The only way that they would be upset and want to say this stuff is just for them to have their way, because there's plenty of other people that they would not do this to. And also, we don't know that's even true. I don't imagine him not taking the women's point of view. Maybe Blake's, no. I doubt that even, but let's say he didn't take Blake's because she was an actress. But I for sure think he took very much Colleen's point of view for her own book. The screenwriter that adapted the book was a woman. He knew very well what he needed to do. He has a wife that I feel like they talk about things, and he's curious about the woman's experience. So do not tell me that this guy did nothing to understand the woman's perspective and experience through this stuff.
He didn't work with women throughout this, even though he did language to drive home points, to win narratives and win favor.
She's like Trump. I said this, I keep saying this. She'll use anything to get her way and to get people to believe what she wants them to believe. She doesn't discriminate against any of that. She'll use politics, she'll use women's health issues, women's safety issues. She'll use victims of severe trauma and abuse. She does not care.
This is like,
allegedly, my opinion, what it seems like. It looks like that. It very much looks like that.
What he would want, but they are not about to allow this to happen. This is why no one will say a word about what happened. And then this is the part where I remember when I saw this, I was like, this is why they left him out of the promotion. This is the smoking gun. It has nothing to do with Blake being unsafe around him or feeling unsafe. It was having to do with they wanted to make him look like he had lost interest, was disinterested, and was forcing everyone to do the work for him. Blake and the others in the film have been promoting this for months. Justin, on the other hand, was allowing them to do this. Also, he's lazy. And they also wanted to make clear that Ryan had nothing to do with this. And he's not involved with the film. And he's just Blake's husband. So the real truth about why they didn't want him on the red carpet, and the real truth they didn't want him to be in the promotions, was so that she could frame him as lazy, disinterested. Not that he had been isolated and alienated and told he can't show up. But she wanted him to look like he wasn't doing any of the work. And she wanted to make it look like she put in all the work. The truth is she wanted to...
Which, there's a clip of Blake Lively saying that the work behind the scenes was more challenging than the work in front of the scenes, or something like that. Like, she did put in much more effort behind the scenes. It took a lot more out of her than the in front of the scenes. Like, oh, the front of the scenes, in front of the camera, that part was easy, but behind the scenes, behind the camera, that part was like harder. You can see that you don't even know what you're talking about. What?
Frame herself as the director of the film, and she wanted to push him out. She's really saying that because, in a way, who would be better than to make the next film? A woman. So it's like she's planting all these seeds, like no man should have the right to make films about women, so that she can be a woman that makes films about women. The audacity that he would show up to do his job. I mean, there are literally directors that's what they do. They don't give the actors and actresses opportunity to take over the film.
Yeah.
This has always been about Blake wanting the movie and the sequel. I think Blake Lively wants that job, or she's ready for that job, because that's what the entire fight was about.
When he said that, it was complete truth. It was a moment where he couldn't pretend. I think that was at the premiere. He couldn't fake it. He was exhausted, and you could see that. And I will say that in his tone of voice, in his expression, the way the cadence that he used, and I'm not a body language expert, but I'm a human, and I'm a fearful avoidant, and I pick things up. I might be wrong. My opinion is that when he said that, it sounded very much like someone who was just stream of consciousness, because he couldn't take it anymore. He might have just been told that they will have to be in the basement, and he's like, you know what, let me just throw it out. I'm just done. I don't want to have anything to do with this. She can have this. And it was a moment where it seemed like he cracked. Like he was just done. Nothing was worth it. That moment at least had to come from discussions around this, from pressures from her to direct that we saw, to write, to rewrite, to do changes. We saw that video of the dancing scene where she's like, we should be this way, and he's like, no, I'm the director, and like I'm doing this for a purpose, because it looks better with the light behind you, and blah 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 blah. So I think he just at that point was exhausted, tired, and just let it out in a moment of just exhaustion. I think that was one of the most truthful things about all of this saga. One of those like moments where there's zero filter, even like the regular filters that human beings have, and especially when you're acting and directing and all that stuff on the red carpet, like there was zero filter in that moment. I just feel really bad. I feel bad for him. I feel the exhaustion, the emotional abuse, honestly, that he went through with her. If this is true, allegedly, my opinion. In this moment, I just feel the pain that he was put through. It is so sad. I feel really bad for him. Like, not sympathy, but like empathy. I feel really bad. I I really want to give him like a virtual hug, as like ridiculous and stupid as that sounds. But this behavior that she is said to have had, and that she has shown through the things that she has said to the press since this has went legal, in her legal documents, show a lot of this abusive behavior of just wearing someone down, wearing them down to nothing, to where they just give you everything that you ask for, and unfairly wearing that person down just because you want something. And yeah, I just feel really bad.
A book go to film where the author of the book is like so prominently featured in the promotions.
Yeah.
It was very obvious how much care and like involvement she had, just with the amount she was involved in the promotion itself. They were involved with her the whole time. No matter what she says, it's always a lie.
That's the one. Remember that that Reddit post, and talking about one of them. It was, I think, the smaller one that was talking about how the crew didn't know what to believe because she would change the story, or yeah, she would change the story. Blake Lively would just change the story all the time, and she would also get very volatile and stuff, and like people just genuinely didn't know what to believe because she always says something different about the same thing. Yeah. I'm not gonna keep going. I think this is enough. Go watch Without a Crystal Ball. And wow, I did not want, I wanted to go to bed and really be done, but I felt like this really needed to be said, to be watched. I was really curious. So yeah. All right. Have a good night. Bye.